back, everyone. We have Bart and Jennifer Mills, our local movie reviewers, which I call Bartifer. And they're going to be talking about this kind of like I don't know if it's a scary movie or a suspenseful movie, but it's called Maxxxine. So welcome, Bart and Jen.
Good morning. Yeah, we were just literally having that conversation because I think there are people out there on some of the reviews and some of the commentary on this talks about it being a horror movie. This is part of a trilogy. So the first one was X, the second one was Pearl, and then this one, and all three have been described as horror. To me, they're more thrillers with slasher pieces to them. They are a deep dive into film homage, as we see a lot of these days. This is Maxxxine is Ty West is the director, and he's as I said, the director of three of these. Mia Goth is the star, and she's been in all three of these as well. This is the direct sequel to X, which was the first of the three. So if you're not confused yet, that's fine. We won't be testing you at the end of this. But basically, it's the story set in 1980s Los Angeles. It's a very gritty 1980s Los Angeles that we used to see in movies like Angel and a lot of those other bad streetwalker movies from the 80s. Pearl is not Pearl, I'm sorry. Maxxxine is a porn star getting ready to transition into straight movies through a horror movie. Her friends start showing up dead, killed in horrible ways. It looks like it might be the Night Stalker, who at that time was actually stalking LA and killing people. And private detective, played by the great Kevin Bacon, shows up, starts talking about her past, and then the mystery and the rest unfolds.
All right, so when I looked at the trailer, there was definitely a throwback to the 80s, and the music alone made me actually going to want to watch
the needle drops are amazing. Like at some points I'd look at him and be like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect 80s song for this scene, you know? So yeah.
So, okay, so cinematography looked like it was all from the 80s. I thought it was, from what I saw, the short clips of it, it looked like it was well done. Do you have to watch the first few movies to understand what's going on here, or can you
really don't? I think it would be beneficial to watch X before this, but you don't have to. They're really created as standalone films. I think you might get a little more out of this if you watched X, but you don't have to.
Okay, and so this is 1 hour and 44 minutes, and it's a rated R, I'm guessing because it is a thriller, murder scenes and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a lot of gore.
Yeah, and it is set in the world of porn, so, I mean, if you're thinking about whether to take the kids or not, maybe a slasher movie set in the world of porn might be a cue that don't take the kids.
Although I think that you've told us about some other ones that you've seen that you're like, why is this 4-year-old here?
Yeah,
right.
Not everybody's a good parent.
All right, so Rotten Tomatoes. I'm just going to go right to the Rotten Tomatoes because, you know, it's my favorite website to figure out if we're going to love this movie or not. So Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 78% approval rating, which is actually not bad, but it's not amazing.
No, it's rough for Rotten Tomatoes. But I think this is one of those movies, again, when you think about the sort of psychology behind Rotten Tomatoes and the troll behavior of democratization of criticism, it all comes down to the idea that there are people who are probably disappointed in this movie compared to the previous two. I think X especially became sort of a cult classic. Pearl followed it up. It was a little bit weirder. This one goes more back into the, I guess, sort of a straight movie, although there's a lot of gonzo to it by my Claire. You know, this is more homage. I mean, if you're a film nerd and you really love, especially the catalog of the 70s and the 80s, if you like Alfred Hitchcock, if you like De Palma to follow that, if you really like some of those early, late 80s, 70s slasher movies, you know, this is for you. There's Easter eggs throughout. It's shot like that. It's acted like that. It's not for a general audience. This is a movie by nerds, made for nerds. And so I think it's going to be lost on a lot of people. It's going to be, frankly, overly praised by some people. So this is a solid B movie, but it's not a masterpiece and it's not junk.
All right, so speaking of nerds, we want to know what you thought of it.
Truthfully, Chris, of the three, you know, most movie reviewers, you're going to read reviews on this, love the other ones more. In my opinion, I thought this one was the best of the three. But again, I grew up in the 80s. I grew up on 80s horror movies and 80s slasher movies. So for me, this was my favorite of the three.
All right, so thumbs up for Maxxxine. Well, Bart and Jen, I want to thank you for coming out today. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, well, don't go away because we have more when we return.